Hey guys, welcome to the PlanTito Earl channel, and I'm your PlanTito Earl. And this is part 2 of our leca series. Part 1, we discussed the things that you need to know about leca. That's the more theoretical lecture part of our leca series. And now this part 2, as you can see, I already have some plants here. We are going to do some potting, and I'll be telling, this is the more practical part of it. I'll be telling you how to pot your plants in leca, what are the things that you need, how to properly maintain them, how to care for plants in leca. And yeah, so let's get it started. So hey guys, welcome to the PlanTito Earl channel, where we talk anything and everything about plants. And in this case, we talk anything and everything about leca. And again, I'm your PlanTito Earl. So once again, thank you so much guys for watching. And if in case you haven't watched it, do watch part 1 if you want to know more about the theoretical aspects of leca. Because this part 2 of our leca series, we will be using our hands. I'll be showing you the things that you'll need to do in order to prepare your plants, your leca, when you're planning to transition to leca, or when you're planning to lecalize them. So let's just use that term for now para mas madali. Basically, when I say lecalize, lecalizing, lecalization, I'm referring to you transitioning your pot from its previous substrate, which is most likely soil or a soilless substrate, and we'll be moving it to leca. So now let's start. Now, the things that you will need. First is your plant, of course. So, I have 4 plants here, if you can see them. These are 4 philodendrons. Now, it's not just about moving your plants right away. Okay, what I usually do, I make sure that the plants are properly established and well-rooted, just like this one right here. And if you just recently bought them and took them home with you, you've already acclimated them. So, give them at least about a week or 2 before you even decide to repot. So, basically, para lang din siyang usual repotting mo when you're planning to repot from one pot to another, whether you upsize or downsize. You have to follow the same rules. And then, what I did with them is I rinsed the roots thoroughly as much as I can to get rid of the organic matter. Although ito kasi ang hirap kasi one of the things that I learned, ang pinakamahirap na i-cleanse or na i-rinse or linisin na roots are plants that grow in cocoa peat or cocoa coir. Sobrang madikit kasi. So, medyo may mga natira pa siya, but that's fine. That should be okay, I guess. This is, by the way, a philodendron atabuquense. Sige, introduce ko nga sila muna sa'yo. So, these are the 4 plants that we'll be potting today. This right here is a juvenile philodendron atabuquense. Hindi pa masyado noticeable yung parang mini sungay niya, but that's fine. It has 4 good leaves, 5th one coming in. This is already acclimated. I've had this for almost 2 months now. The next one is, start with this one, a fairly related guy. This is a Philodendron mexicanum, juvenile form, but you can already see the ears coming in, and then the 4th leaf coming in. This next one is a Philodendron Bob C. 1 leaf unfurling and 1 leaf growing right here. Again, cleaned it. Look at those roots, oh, super well established na siya. Nahirapan din ako i-clean up to. And the last one, my most recent purchase about 2 weeks ago in my Bulacan tour. This is a Philodendron melanochrysum. Yeah, see, it's already rooted. See, I wasn't lying when I told you na it's rooted. It has good amount of roots, and this should be more than enough to keep it going. So yeah, so that's what you need. Number 1. Number 2 is your glass container. Not necessarily glass container. Your container where you will be putting it. Again, as much as possible, use a clear or transparent, or at the very least translucent container, because that serves a purpose. 1, you'll be able to observe the water level of your leca setup, because that is very crucial. If you overwater it, or if it goes beyond the recommended water level, it could lead to root rot or stem rot. So that's the equivalent of it being being overwatered. That's why I always recommend using a clear container. Whether gamitin mo glass or plastic, doesn't matter, okay lang yun. As long as it's clear, as long as nakikita mo yung water level niya. And I'll be discussing water level in a bit. Next that you need is of course your leca. Now what I did with leca, madami to kasi madami tayong plants. This is our leca right here. And I have some of them. So now we'll deal with leca, with preparing your leca. It's actually quite easy. Yes, leca may seem very intimidating at first, especially kung hindi mo alam what it is and what it's all about and how to use it properly. But to tell you the truth, sobrang dali lang ng mga steps na gagawin mo. There's a few extra steps or fairly different steps from what you're used to when you're using, let's say, soil or other substrates. But this one is very easy to do. So what I did with this, I rinsed it under running water, put it in a strainer, rinse it under running water, hanggang sa hindi na cloudy yung lumalabas na water sa ilalim. And then, next is an optional step. Again, this is optional. I soak it in hydrogen peroxide just to make sure it's properly sterilized. In case may mga kumapit na kung ano-anong unnecessary stuff there. After that, after sterilizing it for 10 minutes in the hydrogen peroxide solution, I boil it for about 10 to 15 minutes in boiling water. Just so that, again, that somehow completes the sterilization process. And then, just run it through running water again just to cool it down and you're ready to go. Ako personally, hindi ko na siya dinadry. I've seen other vloggers use leca and they want to use it dry. Ako, I don't use it na as dry kasi mababasa din naman siya eventually. And then, the last one that you will be using or needing is your water or the solution that you will be adding to your leca setup. So that's just 4 things. Now this is comprised of, I'll show you na rin. This has rooting hormone. I'm using Anaa. This is like my all-time go-to and it's very helpful in transplanting and making sure my plants properly establish themselves. And I'm also using a liquid fertilizer. This one is what I have. This is NutriHydro. I bought this from Lazada. And the only trick here is follow the dosage of both, kung how much yung recommended dosage nila. So those are the only things that you need. And now we are going to start potting. Sobrang dali niya lang. It's actually much easier than pot. For me, mas dadalian ako sa kanya. The actual potting process itself. Yung preparation yung medyo mas tedious ng onte. Because you have to rinse the plant and you have to sterilize your leca. So now, once you have your root ready or your cleaned up plant ready, get your leca, fill it up with leca up to 1/3 of the container. And madali lang yan. And super dali kasi siya i-work around. Ayan lang, scoop with your hand. Hindi na kailangan ng shovel or anything like that, spoon. Just use your hand. Fill it up to about 1/3. And that's it. Oops. See, ang dali niya lang. Kung mawala siya, but that's why. Just shake it para mag-compact siya. Next, add your plant. Put it inside slowly, gentle but firm. That's my usual approach when repotting, whether in leca or whether in soil. Be gentle and firm with it. So yun. So set it down there. A technique just so that you can have an indicator kung how much yung water you need. Medyo maglagay kayo ng roots. This will be easier if well-rooted na yung plant nyo. Maglagay kayo ng roots to the side. Ito yung magiging, kumbaga, indicator line nyo na, okay, hanggang dito lang dapat water level natin. Again, I'll explain that later. Then, you just fill it up. Fill up the rest of the space. And yun lang. Fast forward. And that's it. Sobrang ganun lang siya kadali. And one technique para medyo mas maging compact siya, just medyo suntukin yung sides ng pots all over para medyo mag-compact yung leca mo all around, para medyo mas maging stable siya, lalo na if medyo malaki na yung plant mo. So there, that only took me about a minute and that's done. So I'll repot the others na rin. Quick fast forward sequence. Tip pala, ikutin nyo yung pot kapag maglalagay kayo para mag-even out yung pagpasok ng mga leca balls mo para mas maging stable siya. tapos na tayo mag-pot ng ating 4 plants. And that took only, what, 5 minutes? So now, we move on to the next process, which is feeding or putting the solution in our plants. So that's actually very easy. Again, this is the reason why you want to keep your, why you want to use transparent or translucent containers for your lecalized plants. Kasi I used one before na opaque. It was a mug, a ceramic mug. And di ko na malayan na sobrang taas pala ng water level na nilagay ko dun sa plant. It died. Nag-rot siya. It was an alocasia. And yun, it died. So now, what you're going to do is look for the 1/3 level. Or in this case, now, what you want to look for is yung level ng roots na pinakamababa or yung lowest placed roots or yung pinakamababang roots. So in this case, for this Mexicanum, hanggang dito siya. Look for this, yung pinaka-ano. That's why I told you earlier, maglagay kayo ng roots na to the side. Yan yung magiging indicators nyo kung hanggang saan lang dapat ang water level nyo. Yan lang ang maximum kasi if you go beyond that, chances are baka mag-develop ng root rot. So what you want to do is just add your liquid solution. I've already dissolved it earlier. Then just water it around para ma-moisten most of it. And then check the water level. So you want to go as high as up here. So just put it there. And that's it. And just enough to touch, water level should be just enough to touch the lowest tips of the roots. So we're going to do the same to all our 3 philodendrons. And that's it. That only took like what, less than a minute to water all 4. You just have to again check the level. Yan yung pinaka main indicator mo. If you go beyond that, that's already overwatering and that will result in stem rot or root rot. And also make sure na your stems aren't submerged. If there are, let's say may ibang plants kasi, diba? For example, with there are other plants na medyo mas mahaba yung stem than the root. So when you position it as much as possible, dapat roots yung nasa pinakamababa. Don't let the stems touch the water as much as possible kasi if you let that happen, it will result in stem rot and mas mabilis magpatay si stem rot than root rot. Root rot kasi medyo slow and gradual pa siya. Stem rot, in a day or two, you lose the entire leaf right away. So there, that's how you use it. Oh, by the way, I also get this question pala. Kasi there are some vloggers that I've watched that's when I first found out about leca. There's some US vloggers that I watched. What they do is they drill holes in their containers, which is, I think is fine because one, that's also a good leveler. Yun yung indicator mo ng water level mo kasi once you go beyond that, mag-drain out siya. So that's actually a good technique or innovation. And also, it makes it easier to clean up. I'll discuss cleaning up in a bit. Pero ako personally, hindi ko na ginagawa yun kasi for one, chances are, given my handiwork, given how well I am with my hands, chances are baka mabasag ko yung container entirely as I drill the hole. I don't want to subject myself to that kind of stress anymore, so I just don't. So tinatansya ko na lang siya as accurately as I can. So yun, so that's it. That's basically how you pot leca or how you lecalize your plants. Now when it comes to maintenance, again, it's very easy. It's just as easy as potting actually. You just do it once a month or if you want to be as frequent with it, that's fine. But I recommend once a month should be just fine or a little over that. You just have to let fresh water run through it and then drain it out, run fresh water through it, drain it out, fresh water run through it, drain it out, until medyo wala na yung mga residue niya. And that's complete. And that's it. That's the only maintenance thing that you have to do. And you just have to top it up pag medyo mababa na or pag halos wala ng water to. 1 to 2 weeks without me having to top it up. And again, depending on the conditions or the weather or the climate in your area, it depends. So observe nyo na lang how frequently you have to top it up. You don't have to top it up naman na every time na bumaba lang ng onte, top it up. No, just kahit ako sinasagad ko siya minsan all the way down. Kasi also, that's also a good thing. When I mean top up, I mean lagyan nyo lang siya ng fresh batch of water kahit wala na yung liquid solution nyo, so that you also reduce the risk of fertilizer burn. Kasi if you want to do it weekly, or if you want to top it up every time with liquid fertilizer or with your solution, use a diluted solution just so that hindi siya mag-result in fertilizer burn. Kasi if you top it up every time with fertilized water, it might result to fertilizer burn. So yeah. So yeah, basically yun yung mga basics about lecalizing your plants and maintaining your lecalized plants. I've already said this before. Yes, it may seem very intimidating at first. Si leca, mukha siyang intimidating because, well, it's more of our fear of the unfamiliar, kumbaga. Kasi it's a fairly, I wouldn't want to say new, and it's not exactly innovative, pero hindi pa kasi siya commonly used na substrate or potting medium for plants. That's why some people find it very intimidating. Ang dami na nagsabi sa akin nun actually, parang ang hirap niya gamitin, ang hirap niya gawin, parang ang hirap niya maintain. Actually, no. And yun nga, I've already mentioned the advantages and disadvantages of it on part 1 of the leca series. Do check that out. I'll link it also towards the end of the video. And overall, in the past 4 months since I've been using them, I must say leca has really been very, very helpful to me in more ways than one. So I would encourage you, I'm not forcing you or not urging you to try it out. I would encourage you to try it out because it has helped me. Siguro, I also have the right conditions for it. And medyo na-master ko na siya. I'm not an expert in any way. Medyo na-master ko lang siya because of frequent practice and experiments and, having used it for the past 4 months, and it has worked well for me. And yun nga, may mga miracles na nangyari since I started lecalizing some of my plants. So there, I hope you were able to learn something new today, and I hope that because of this video, you're no longer intimidated to try out leca if you haven't. And if you have or already are in leca, I hope that I was able to, let's say, confirm the things that you already know about leca, or I was able to impart new knowledge that you didn't know about lecalizing your plants. And another important tip, if you wanna try it out for the first time, try it out muna with, let's say, less expensive plants. Let's say, I personally started with pothos, just so that let's say, if I fail or if I did something wrong along the way and the plant dies, it won't be as painful. Slowly, gradually you can start using or start doing it with your rarer or more expensive plants. That's what I did. Gradually, start mo na sa mga murang plants, the pothos, spathiphyllum, and then I moved on to my philodendrons and my anthuriums. So yun, so there. Thank you so much, guys, for joining me today, and thank you all. If you haven't watched part 1, please do check it out. I'll link it towards the end of the video. And if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't, comment down below what you think about leca, or what you will be trying. If it's your first time, what will be the first plant that you will lecalize? Comment down below, and don't forget to follow me on social media. I'm on Facebook and on Instagram. So there, thank you so much for joining me today. As always, have a great day. Bye bye.